Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a highly controversial yet completely fascinating question about human relationships. Why, according to certain evolutionary and psychological theories, are women often attracted to married men? We're breaking down a specific source today that makes a really provocative argument about covert polygyny in modern society. We're going to look closely at the exact framework the speaker uses, analyzing these concepts neutrally and objectively, straight from the source material. Okay, let's dive right into this. The source immediately hits us with this central, pretty bold thesis. Quote, women are in reality polygynous. They try to profit off of the commitments of other women. It's a huge statement, right? The speaker is basically arguing that female attraction doesn't just operate in a vacuum. Instead, it relies really heavily on the work, the time, and the emotional investment that other women have already put into a man. Which brings us to Section 1, the controversial premise and its historical context. So, to understand this, the speaker traces modern dating behavior straight back to our past. Think about it. Historically, women faced total financial dependence on their spouses. If a woman ended up with an abusive or totally incapable partner, getting out of that union was, well, nearly impossible. Because of that extreme risk, the source argues that women develop this instinctual, lingering caution in mate selection that actually persists today. A bad choice historically meant a lifetime of suffering, so that extreme caution, it literally became hardwired. That deep historical caution leads us right into Section 2, the resume metaphor, which directly compares dating to the job market. And this brilliantly illustrates the speaker's core point. On one side, you've got the single man. According to the source, he's high risk. He has absolutely no track record, no proof he can actually provide, and his ability to maintain a relationship is a total unknown. But on the other side, you've got the married man. He represents proven experience. He's seen as a much safer bet because his qualities, responsibility, stability, commitment, they are actively on display. The source really drives this home with this quote. Starting a union with a man is like hiring the man. A single man has no resume. Just think about that for a second. The speaker is saying that choosing a lifelong partner is basically a massive job appointment where the woman is the hiring manager. And let's be real, hiring a guy with absolutely zero references and no prior job experience, that's an incredibly risky gamble. Nobody wants to deal with a disastrous probationary period. This flows perfectly into Section 3. The appeal of pre-vetted men, and the power of recommendations. When a woman observes a man who has a reasonably happy wife and children, the source argues she instantly sees a complete checklist of pre-vetted traits. He has a proven ability to provide. If he has kids, his biological fertility is already confirmed. He's clearly capable of maintaining a relationship, and he demonstrates general responsibility. The hiring manager doesn't have to sit there and guess if he can do the job. She can literally see him currently doing it successfully. But the speaker makes a really specific point here. This isn't just about logical, conscious observation. He actually attributes this attraction to a sort of tug-of-war between the rational frontal lobe and the reptilian brain. Even if a woman's rational brain is saying, hey, he's married, stay away, her instinctual, biological reptilian brain is screaming, this mate is fertile, he's safe, and he's capable. It's an unconscious drive constantly seeking proof of survival and reproductive success. Now we're moving into Section 4, social proof, tribalism, and competition. So the crucial point here is how the source contrasts male and female desire. The speaker claims that traditionally, men have often valued inexperience or virginity in a partner. Women, however, according to this source anyway, are the exact opposite. They actively value experience and established capability in a man. The sheer fact that another woman wants him, that actually increases his value. As the source bluntly puts it, quote, no woman wants to be the experiment of a man. The whole argument here is that women prefer to step in after another woman has already done the hard work of, training him, helping him mature, and smoothing out all those rough edges. They want the finished product, not the rough draft. The speaker relates this to what he calls the alpha male dynamic. He observes that rich, successful men, or simply married men, experience a sudden surge in female attention specifically because other women desire them. He argues that women are instinctually curious, competitive, and tribalistic. If they see a group of women flocking to one particular man, they inherently want to know exactly what they're missing out on, and they desire to belong to that dynamic. It creates this absolutely fascinating chronological loop. Step 1, a man commits to a woman. Step 2, because of that commitment, he's suddenly perceived by society as pre-vetted, safe, and successful. Step 3, That perception ironically causes the demand for him to skyrocket among other women. The commitment that was supposed to take him off the market actually advertises his value to the entire market. In Section 5, the source shifts its focus to the modern day, the modern mistress and independent women. Now, what's really interesting here is the totally counterintuitive claim it makes. You'd think a successful young woman would automatically want a successful young single man, right? But the source argues that these women actually view young single men as unstable, unpredictable emotional roller coasters. Instead, they opt for older married men because they're stable, they're established, and, crucially, they come with very predictable boundaries. Let's look at the source's specific breakdown of exactly why an independent woman prefers a married man. First, she has her own busy career. She just lacks the time and energy for a needy single partner who wants constant attention. She prefers established stability. And, perhaps most surprisingly, the source claims she actually likes the compartmentalization. She knows exactly where he is with his wife when he's not with her. It provides this sort of moral certainty and prevents the relationship from completely consuming her life. Of course, as you can imagine, this dynamic creates immense friction. The speaker categorizes the women who are most offended by these dynamics as the disgruntled woman. This is the original wife. She's the one who took that massive initial risk on a single man with zero resume. She invested years into training and supporting him, only to now face intense competition from other women who just want to swoop in and enjoy the polished, finished product. The source notes a really stark contrast between moralizing and reality here. The speaker asserts that many women will loudly and proudly claim they would never ever date a married man. But according to his observations, when actually placed in that situation, feeling a genuine connection with a highly pre-vetted, successful man, many will actually compromise their stated moral values because the biological pull of that resume is just too strong to ignore. That brings us to our final section, the forbidden fruit conclusion and ultimate takeaway. The speaker uses this classic quote to make his final point: no fruit is as sweet as the forbidden fruit. He firmly believes that our societal rules and moral outrage don't actually stop this behavior. If anything, they just make the married man an even more alluring target. Summarizing the speaker's final, honestly somewhat paradoxical arguments here, first, he claims covert polygyny in the form of mistresses and affairs is already incredibly widespread. Second, he argues that our societal moral outrage is really just a mask covering up deeply ingrained natural biological instincts. And third, he proposes that if we actually removed the social stigma altogether, it might ironically decrease the behavior by completely removing the thrill of the taboo. So we are left looking at two massive, completely opposing sociological forces highlighted by the source. On one hand, you have the immense power of social proof, the biological instinct to want what other women have already validated as safe and successful. On the other hand, you have the power of social stigma, society collectively condemning the action to protect the original investment of the wife. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. And I want to leave you with a question to chew on based on this framework. Does social stigma actually drive and complicate our relationship dynamics? Or are these behaviors truly hardwired biological instincts that we are just constantly trying to manage? It's a fascinating look at the intersection of evolutionary psychology and modern dating. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning the why behind human behavior.